My personal belief system, contextual Satanism. Introduction. My view of Satanism is based on context. I combine both theistic and atheistic ideas into one working system. To me, Satan is both a symbol and a real being. The difference depends on the situation, what I call the Dayside and Nightside perspectives. In daily life, Satan represents reason, rebellion, and independence. In ritual, Satan becomes a real spiritual force, the power behind the darkness and transformation. Both sides are true depending on context. This flexibility allows me to live as a rational Satanist, while also practicing magic that draws on spiritual power. This dual approach comes from my reading of the Satanic Bible and my experience as a practitioner. Anton LaVey's concept of the intellectual decompression chamber describes the shift between the rational and the ritual states of mind. When I enter ritual space, I drop disbelief and treat Satan and the unseen forces as real. When I leave ritual, I return to logic and critical thinking. My Satanism merges these two modes into one framework. I treat belief as a tool, something I can activate or suspend depending on need. This keeps my practice both grounded and transcendent, allowing me to honor the material world and the spiritual at once. Dayside Satanism. Dayside Satanism is the part of my belief that stays rooted in reason. It is practical, skeptical, and self-directed. I use Satan here as a symbol of individuality and self-empowerment. This view aligns with the core of LaVeyan Satanism. Anton LaVey presented Satan as the archetype of pride, defiance, and human strength. He rejected supernatural claims, but embraced the psychological and theatrical use of ritual. His focus was on carnal existence, personal success, and emotional honesty. In my Dayside practice, I live by these ideas. Satan represents my refusal to submit to external authority, moral dogma, or guilt-based systems. He is the symbol of my natural will, the part of me that questions, acts, and takes responsibility for my own path. The Dayside is about mastering the visible world. It focuses on personal growth, self-knowledge, and control of the material realm. It is also about knowing one's nature, accepting both light and shadow without shame. Dayside Satanism is where I use reason to examine my beliefs. It's where I hold myself accountable, question my motives, and maintain clarity. It's also where I understand symbols as metaphors, not literal truths. Satan, in this view, is an image of human liberation. Nightside Satanism. Nightside Satanism begins where rational understanding ends. It is where I step into magic, ritual, and direct contact with darkness. Here, Satan is not symbolic. He is real, powerful, and present. When I perform ritual, I treat the powers of darkness as literal forces. This includes Satan, the demons, and the shadow energies that shape reality. I approach them with respect and purpose, not superstition. The key is immersion, suspending disbelief long enough to create real results. LaVey described the intellectual decompression chamber as the space where one releases skepticism. Inside ritual, logic gives way to emotional and symbolic power. By doing this, one activates deeper layers of the psyche and taps into the subconscious and possibly external energies. In my practice, I take this further. I see the Nightside as both psychological and spiritual. The energies I work with are real, whether they exist within the self or beyond it. During magic, I do not question their existence. I treat them as real entities because that's how power flows. In ritual, Satan becomes a conscious presence, a living power that embodies transformation and destruction. I experience this not as fantasy, but as direct contact with the unseen. The Nightside demands faith, not blind faith in dogma, but focused belief for the sake of magical effect. The context principle, the foundation of my belief, is context. Whether Satan is real or symbolic depends on the setting and purpose. This dual structure allows me to live fully in both worlds, the rational and the occult. Context defines belief. In conversation, when discussing Satan philosophically, I may describe him as an archetype or symbol. In ritual, when summoning, invoking, or meditating, I treat him as a being. Both are true in their own context. This approach prevents rigid thinking. It acknowledges that truth can be situational. The human mind operates on multiple levels: intellectual, emotional, and spiritual. My Satanism respects that complexity. By moving between symbolic and literal modes, I align my practice with both reason and mystery. This integration mirrors the dual nature of existence: light and dark, seen and unseen, conscious and subconscious. Satan is the unifying force between these dualities. He represents rebellion and order, logic and chaos, independence and surrender. My belief system doesn't force one interpretation. It accepts both as necessary parts of the whole. The intellectual decompression chamber. This concept is central to how I practice. The intellectual decompression chamber is both a metaphor and a real psychological process. It represents the mental boundary between the rational self and the ritual self. When I prepare for ritual, I deliberately enter this chamber. I clear my mind of rational doubt. I allow belief to take full form. This is not self-deception. It's self-control. By suspending disbelief, I access deeper psychic layers that normal thinking blocks. Inside this space, magic becomes possible. Emotion, symbolism, and imagination merge into power. Satan, as a real being, is present in this mental and energetic zone. When I leave the ritual, I return to logic and analysis, bringing insight back from the experience. This method creates balance. It keeps belief from becoming delusion while allowing spiritual depth. It's a disciplined form of faith, a conscious decision to believe within a controlled setting. LaVey described this process to help practitioners get the most from ritual. To me, it also serves as a bridge between atheistic and theistic Satanism. It allows both interpretations to coexist without conflict. The psychology of dual belief, holding two forms of belief, symbolic and literal, might seem contradictory, but it's a natural part of human psychology. People already do this in other areas of life. We know stories are fictional, yet still feel their emotional truth. We know rituals are symbolic, but still experience transformation. In my form of Satanism, I use this psychological flexibility consciously. It allows me to live rationally in the world, but still work with the unseen. It's a mental technology, a tool to navigate reality. Satan as symbol motivates me intellectually. Satan as spirit empowers me spiritually. Each mode feeds the other. The Dayside sharpens my mind. The Nightside deepens my soul. Together, they create a complete self. This balance reflects Satan's dual nature in myth: light-bringer and adversary, teacher and tempter, destroyer and liberator. In this duality, I find personal strength. I can embrace logic without losing mysticism, and vice versa. Ritual and reality. When I perform ritual, I step into the night side. The structure is symbolic, but the experience is real. Every gesture, word, and image has meaning that speaks to both the conscious and subconscious mind. I often begin with invocation, calling upon Satan not as a concept, but as a being. The ritual setting helps shift awareness from ordinary to altered states. The energy builds through focus, emotion, and intent. In that space, the question of Satan's objective reality becomes irrelevant. What matters is experience and result. If the ritual brings power, transformation, or clarity, then it works. Rituals act as controlled gateways between the psychological and the metaphysical. They give form to abstract forces. When performed with intent, they draw power from both the mind and the unseen. For me, magic is not about proving existence. It's about using belief as a mechanism for change. Whether Satan exists independently or as part of the deep self, the effect is the same: empowerment and transformation. The symbol and the spirit, Satan as symbol and Satan as spirit, are not opposites. They are layers of the same truth. The symbol represents ideas and the spirit represents force. Together, they form the complete picture of Satan. The symbolic Satan stands for rebellion against tyranny, self-deification, and freedom from imposed morality. The spiritual Satan embodies will, energy, and transformation. The symbol gives understanding. The spirit gives experience. My practice integrates both. In thought, I use Satan to challenge dogma and develop independence. In ritual, I invoke Satan to channel energy and connect with darkness. Both actions strengthen each other. This unity of symbol and spirit creates a living system. It's not bound by rigid belief. It evolves through experience. The more I practice, the more I see that both sides are necessary for true self-mastery. Living the dual path, my daily life reflects the Dayside. I apply logic, discipline, and self-control. I value reason and responsibility. I seek knowledge and success through practical means. But I also honor the Nightside. I engage with ritual, meditation, and exploration of the unseen. This part deepens my understanding of the self and the hidden forces around me. Living the dual path means knowing when to use each side. When dealing with the material world, I rely on rational thought. When dealing with transformation or inner change, I enter the magical mode. This is not about switching identities, it's about balance. Both sides belong to the same whole. Satanism to me is not a religion of contradiction, but of integration. It teaches mastery over one's own mind and environment. By practicing both sides, I stay grounded yet open to mystery. I act as both skeptic and believer, scientist and sorcerer. This makes my Satanism adaptable, strong, and deeply personal. The role of belief. In my system, belief is a tool. It is not fixed. It is chosen and applied. This makes it powerful. Belief can shape perception, emotion, and even outcome. When I believe in Satan as real during ritual, that belief fuels energy. When I view Satan as symbolic in daily life, that belief strengthens my focus and individuality. Both uses are intentional. I don't seek to prove or disprove Satan's existence. That question belongs to dogmatic religion. My interest is in what belief does, not what belief claims. By controlling belief, I control experience. This aligns with the core satanic idea of being one's own God, the master of mind and reality. Belief becomes a creative act, not a submission to doctrine. The Satanic Bible and my interpretation. The Satanic Bible remains a cornerstone for my practice, though I interpret it through my contextual lens. LaVey's work is primarily symbolic and psychological, but within it are principles that support theistic application when understood in depth. The section on ritual clearly implies that belief has power when engaged fully. The intellectual decompression chamber teaches practitioners to use faith temporarily as a functional state. This method bridges psychology and spirituality. LaVey may not have intended Satan to be seen as real, but his method allows the experience of Satan as real within ritual. This is the foundation of my synthesis. I also draw from theistic sources, seeing Satan as a conscious force or intelligence behind the symbol. To me, LaVey built the framework, and theistic Satanism brings it to life. The result is a system that honors both reason and darkness without contradiction. Practical Satanism. My Satanism is practical. It's not about worship, it's about empowerment. Ritual, symbolism, and philosophy all serve personal growth. In daily life, I use satanic principles to stay independent, honest, and strong. I focus on action, self-mastery, and achieving goals. In spiritual work, I use satanic magic to transform thought and energy. I work with the powers of darkness as allies, not masters. I approach Satan as both mentor and mirror. This balance keeps my practice effective. It avoids blind faith and empty skepticism. It uses belief as a living instrument of will. The power of darkness. Darkness, in my view, is not evil. It is the hidden, the unknown, and the transformative. It is the space where creation begins. In the Nightside, darkness represents power and mystery. It's the realm of shadow where truth is not filtered by illusion. Satan, as Lord of Darkness, is the guide through that realm. To embrace darkness is to face fear, limitation, and truth. It is to accept every part of the self, not only the light. The powers of darkness are not to be feared. They are to be understood and used. Through this engagement, I find freedom. Darkness gives depth to light. Chaos gives birth to order. Satan stands as the embodiment of that eternal balance. Integration and wholeness. The goal of my Satanism is integration of reason and faith, light and dark, symbol and spirit. Each side informs the other. The Dayside sharpens intellect. The Nightside deepens soul. Together, they create wholeness. To live fully, I must accept both my rational and my mystical nature. This dual awareness keeps me centered. It prevents the stagnation of dogma and the emptiness of disbelief. It keeps my path alive and evolving. By merging the theistic and atheistic perspectives, I embody both the rebel who questions and the magician who commands. That is the essence of my Satanism. Conclusion. My personal form of Satanism is built on context and balance. Satan is both symbol and spirit, real and metaphorical, depending on where and how he is engaged. Through the Dayside, I live rationally, embracing individuality and reason. Through the Nightside, I explore darkness, magic, and transformation. The two are not opposed. They complete each other. The intellectual decompression chamber bridges these worlds, allowing me to shift from skepticism to belief as needed. It turns belief into a conscious act of will. This synthesis of theistic and atheistic thought creates a living system of self-deification, freedom, and spiritual depth. It honors both the flesh and the spirit, the visible and the unseen. In this path, Satan is not just a name or idea. He is the embodiment of context itself, the power that connects light and shadow, reason and mystery, self and universe. That is my Satanism, real and symbolic, rational and spiritual, united through context and will.